Derby.com. There's a drop down menu, wager at the top of the page, drop down, and then there's future wager. If you click on that, there are free PPs. And if you click on the free PPs, don't be worried if the first thing you see is the Oaks PPs, because if you scroll down, they're both included on one download. So the Derby future PPs are just further down. So again, you can get free PPs over at KentuckyDerby.com. And speaking of the future wager, caught up with Patrick Reed yesterday. He writes for America's Best Racing, the nice website that offers up a lot of great racing information. And this week, Patrick wrote about futures. He took a look at, the odds both in the Churchill Kentucky Derby future pool and out at Caesars in Vegas, and talked a little bit about some of the interesting horses in the mix. And we did the same thing with Patrick when we caught up with him yesterday. We went over some of the logicals and are they interesting given the odds, horses in the middle, and then tossed in some prices that may be worth taking a look at as well. So we'll go to a quick break. When we come back, Patrick Reed, again, writes for America's Best Racing, but we're going to talk a little future pool with Patrick right after this. Stay tuned.
The championship season is on at Gulfstream Park with great horse racing action Thursday through Sunday. Come out and enjoy the world's best horses, trainers, and jockeys as they compete over the Hallandale Beach Oval all season long. Take your experience up a notch and join us in 10 Palms Restaurant with unbeatable track views, outstanding dining, and convenient wagering options. For reservations, event schedules, tickets, and more, head to GulfstreamPark.com.
If you don't have a Capital OTB account yet, now is the time to log on and take advantage of the sign-up bonus. More details at CapitalOTB.com. Become a Capital OTB account member now and enjoy free past performances, wagering from any device, live streaming, racing info, contests, promotion and events, and more. So sign up now and take advantage of the new account bonus. Details at CapitalOTB.com.
Want to get your career in horse racing off to a fast start? Well, the University of Arizona's Racetrack Industry Program is your winning ticket. The Racetrack Industry Program has served as a springboard to some of the industry's most successful individuals, with a proven track record of job placement right out of college. If you want to earn a degree in the exciting horse racing industry, the Racetrack Industry Program can put you in the winner's circle.
Happy to be joined now by Patrick Reed. He does a lot of work for ABR, America's Best Racing, and one of the articles he put out this week took a look at this weekend's future pool, both put out by Churchill, and also took a look at the some of the odds put out in Vegas. If you have some friends at the NHC who can jump in and make some wagers for you this weekend. But I thought we'd take a look at the future pool coming up and get some ideas. Pat, good morning.
Good morning.
Happy to have you on board. As I said, when I saw your article, I thought we would jump in and take a look. And let's start out because we were down covering the Fountain of Youth a couple of weeks ago down at Gulfstream. And it seems like coming out of that race, the results produced a lot of buzz on the top end of the 3-year-old polls, the various polls. And the future book, no different. Currently, the morning line odds on the future pool: Paladin 5-1, Commandment 6-1, Nearly 8-1. Chief Wallaby is interesting off of that Fountain of Youth at 10-1, and Patente with the San Felipe win at 15-1. I always say I want about 20-1 on my future pools because you're not just having to win the Derby, you have to get there. Anything attractive on the top end for you?
The horse that I wrote about the most in the article, which is on our website right now, is Chief Wallaby, just based on the fact that it was his second start. He still looked green entering the stretch, kind of looking at the crowd a little bit. And once he re-engaged with Commandment, who trip on the inside, he really started to run again. Having said that, 10-1 is a little too low. That would probably be the horse that I would place a wager on if I were going to bet any of the ones that you mentioned coming out. Nearly the horse, Holy Bull winner, I wrote about in an earlier Derby Futures article, the first one of the year before the Holy Bull. just based on the way he had been running at Gulfstream prior to that stakes appearance. I thought he was interesting. At this point, I think his odds are a little too low as well. Chief Wallaby would be the one that I would, if forced to, among that group.
Yeah, again, I'm looking for about 20 to 1. But if somebody like Chief Wallaby, and I get it, Bill Ma's like, oh, I wanted the allowance. I don't know. And so I shied away from him last week or a couple weeks ago. And he ran great. 101 buyer for Commandment, a 100 for Chief Wallaby. So it was a big performance. 10 to 1, though. I'm thinking the Derby favorite this year, at least the way it's shaping up, you're probably looking at 7 to 2 or whatnot. And so, 10 to 1, if you can jump in and maybe get that on Chief Wallaby, I wouldn't argue anybody off of it necessarily. But as I say, I think you have to get there. Reading your article, some other horses of interest, Butane, and we'll talk later about the Virginia Derby, but Butane comes out of a third in the Southwest. 50 to 1 on the morning line in the future pool. He's interesting to me, but the fact that he runs this weekend is probably, he runs well, those odds go down, and he doesn't run well. Maybe you don't want the 50 to 1 anyway.
That's exactly right. And another horse in the Virginia Derby that I was looking at is the one trained by Brad Cox, Confessional, who at Churchill Downs is opening at 90 to 1. Now, this horse really hasn't broken through yet. And 90 to 1 sounds great, but if he does run well in the Virginia Derby, obviously over the weekend it's gonna drop. It probably won't drop to below 20 to 1. But Butane, I thought, ran fairly well in the Southwest as well. I mean, the two Class President and Silent Tactic kind of separated at the end, but he's one to look at as well, I would say.
Butane. Obviously a Baffert horse, and shipping in that Virginia Derby is going to be interesting. And again, we'll talk about that later. You have some potent connections taking their shot for $500,000. It's some, I would say at this point, second stringers, but Butane is one of those for the Baffert barn where he has a number of horses. You mentioned in your article, Patante, you said underlay at 20 to 1. That's at Caesars in Vegas. He's 15 to 1. Morning line on the Kentucky Derby, the Churchill pool. And I agree, that's maybe a little short. The Baffert runner was interesting at the morning line price. I think his litmus test coming off the third in the Rebel last time.
I would agree with that. And that was his 3-year-old debut. He hadn't run since Los Alamitos. That would be the one among his, I guess, so-called first string at this point that I would keep tabs on and consider betting.
There are a few horses in here that, again, meet my criteria, and I'll get some thoughts from you. First of all, Chip Honcho comes off a close-up second in the Risen Star last time. That's behind Paladin. Paladin's taken all kinds of action. On the morning line, the Churchill morning line, Chip Honcho's 50 to 1.
Yeah. What gives me pause with Chip Honcho is I did do a kind of a deep dive into him around when the Gunrunner Stakes, which he won over the Christmas holidays. And to me, despite his really good effort in the Risen Star, I can't get past the pedigree a little bit. It just kind of indicates more of a mile and 16th type, and that would keep me from. I think I wrote in a profile about him. I would love to see him in the Pat Day Mile on Derby Day instead of the Derby. But he really rebounded and ran well in the Risen Star, which followed, I guess, what the Lecomte, where he kind of tired at the end.
Right under him on my PPs here is Class President, comes out of a win in the Rebel and only the third career start for Todd Pletcher. You're getting that bottom line out, getting 20 to 1 on the morning line with that one. And I'll mention that was a ding-dong battle down the stretch. Class President and Silent Tactic. And Silent Tactic, you're getting 20 to 1 as well. So both of those are hitting, as I say, my minimum mark for the odds I like in this future pool.
Class President has the head in front. Litmus test under heavy pressure. Silent Tactic on the outside continues to grind. Class President has hit the lead. Silent Tactic trying to run by him, and he's got a head in front. Class President to the inside. Game for the fight, though. Class President, Silent Tactic in a spine-tingling stretch drive. Head and head, nose and nose, coming to the line. Here it is. Class President on the inside. Class President repels the challenge of Silent Tactic to win the Rebel.
I liked both of those horses. I like Class President coming into the Rebel. He was a pick. I did a handicapping article for ABR on that one. I'll always tout the ones that I hit and ignore the ones that I don't.
Nice
But
call at 8-1.
right. And I think that speaks to the strength of the Florida horses, which really seems to be the best group this year. Last year you had Sovereignty coming from Florida. You also had the two really good California horses. I haven't seen a California horse really step up like Journalism Baeza did last year, but I'm keeping eye on that. But I like the Florida-based horses, and Class President qualifies there.
Well, that leads into nicely. Further Ado, sitting at 20-1 on the morning line, comes out of the seasonal debut, a second in Tampa Bay Derby.
They're four across the track as they come to the eighth pole. On the outside, the Puma, Canaletto, Further Ado right there. Redland Rebels not done as they have a final 16 to go. The Puma, Further Ado, these two go on. Canaletto's between them. The Puma's in front late. The Puma wins the Tampa Bay Derby. Second was tight. I think it was Further Ado over Canaletto. Redland Rebels ran a big one in fourth, and Talkin was fifth.
Talk a little bit about the results there. Canaletto, to me, is very interesting. And Canaletto, you're getting 30-1 on the morning line. That was only his second career start. And again, the top three, to me, coming out of the Tampa Bay Derby are interesting. The Puma, Further Ado, and Canaletto. They all had interesting stories going in that kind of indicate they could move forward off of these efforts. The three coming out of the Tampa Bay Derby.
If Further Ado, I think would be a good bet if you really think that this was kind of his tune-up race, and the final Derby prep is where he's really going to step up. And if that's the case, then opening at 20-1 in Churchill, and it might go down a little bit over the weekend, would be worth considering. The Puma's obviously going, from everything I've read, after earning enough points in the Tampa Bay Derby to go to Louisville. And the only thing that gives me pause about Canaletto is I've read, and maybe aftermath of that race, that one race Chad Brown might be considering would be the Lexington Stakes, more as a tune-up for the Preakness for that horse. That would be the odds are really good, though. And that was only his second race, the Tampa Bay Derby, and he ran great.
Yeah, we've seen Chad kind of take that. And as a trainer, the siren call of the Kentucky Derby attracts a lot of owners and trainers, but Chad has so many potent owners that have other horses they can send. He can be patient. We've seen that in previous years. So yeah, you're kind of putting that in the equation of the odds you want with that one as well. One of the horses you wrote about, we mentioned the Bob Baffert horses, but another one coming off the maiden breaker in career start number 6, Cherokee Nation got a little buzz, and 20-1 on the morning line.
That's right. The two I wrote about were Cherokee Nation and Blacksmith. Cherokee Nation seemed to be the more impressive of the two, and that's why his odds are lower right now. I guess if I were going to make a play between those two, I'd go Blacksmith just because of the odds.
Let me ask you about one more, and this one, that the morning line's maybe a little short for me, but I'm intrigued for Iron Honor. Chad Brown runner, 2 for 2. Won the Gotham, and the numbers are pretty good, so maybe justifies the 25-1 morning line. But what were your thoughts on Iron Honor?
I liked the win in New York. I think those are Chad Brown's two main horses, Paladin and Iron Honor, and you've got a fairly big odds discrepancy in the Churchill pool right there. And if you happen to be in Vegas, Iron Honor's 20-1, Paladin's 8-1, not as big of a disparity, but yeah, I would put Iron Honor sort of in the boat with Canaletto, but from what I understand, Iron Honor is going to run in the Wood Memorial and is pointing toward the Derby, so that's definitely a play.
Yeah, as they say, Chad has enough horses where he can kind of pick his spots a little bit. One more I wanted to hit on, though. New York bred, Talk to Me Jimmy, goes out for Rudy Rodriguez. Started the career against New York breds, third in the maiden special in the debut, then won the maiden special in the second start, and then won the Withers in what was visually very impressive. The number in 82 was okay, but it looked really good. I'm not sure what to make of him, but you're getting 50-1 on the morning line if you're going to take a shot.
Yeah, that would be the appeal. That would be if you're going to look at a long shot, that'd be the one. And I guess it'll be kind of interesting to see a horse that was second to him. Uh, it Grittiness in New York, I do believe, is running in the Virginia Derby. So we'll see how
Right.
that horse does, and that would
Get
be kind of an
get
indicator there.
get the barometer race, which
Yeah.
is always useful in there. All right, let me ask you before we wrap up thoughts on the future pools. Anything attracting your attention? Either, as you say, you have some friends in Vegas, so maybe you can have them go make the Vegas bet, or in the Churchill pool.
The horse that odds wise, I'm looking for even higher odds than 20 to 1 right now, because to me there's it really hasn't been a horse that's jumped out yet. I know Paladin's taking a lot of money, maybe a little too much in my estimation. So the horse I would probably consider betting, but I haven't made the call yet, is the Brad Cox horse running in the Virginia Derby, Confessional, who right now, if I can check on my article again, I think at Churchill, the horse is 90 to 1 opening. Now, the only problem is, as we discussed with those other Virginia Derby horses, the odds would go down if he really ran
Yeah.
well. But he's also 125 to 1 at Caesars. I did send in a bet on it almost 3 years ago on Mage at 100 to 1 before the Florida Derby. The luck there was that Forte and a couple of other horses scratched on Derby Day, and he did get a perfect trip on Derby Day. I'm looking for that type of play, and I would probably look at the Brad Cox horse, Confessional.
Let me ask you, because I tout all others, and all others has changed now with the 39 individual entrances compared to 19, and you get this late. I'm not sure how many all others you'll get, because there are a lot. But this year, I think you might wind up, and one you mentioned, Blacksmith may wind up being an all other. So a 12 to 1 on the morning line. Any interest there?
That's actually pretty good. I agree with your point of view on that. It's better than it used to be, and it's something to look at if you can find a horse like Blacksmith or another one that you think is going to jump up, in the bluegrass or the wood, and could be covered in that pool.
And what are your overall thoughts? Again, I've read on social media, and I have the same opinion. It's a year where I want to say when we started the year, I thought it was different than a couple of years ago. A couple of years ago, it seemed like every weekend you'd have these Derby preps, and somebody would step up with a big performance. You think, oh, and then the next race they would be third or fourth, and somebody else would step up. So the 3-year-old crop didn't really kind of separate out until about summertime. I thought this was a little different, and it is a little different. The big performances are very big this year, I think, good looking and good numbers, but it's still, I don't know whether the cream has necessarily risen to the top at this point to where you can feel confident with the top 5. You're looking at, oh, the Derby winner is in there. It seems a little bit in flux still.
Yeah, for me, I agree that there hasn't been a horse that's really jumped out yet. The one that I think I would place a bet on right now, just in terms of being a Derby winner, and actually opening at a 20 to 1 in Churchill's pool, I believe, as the horse that maybe the only one we haven't mentioned yet is Renegade.
That 4 wide sweep. Oselli got stopped there. Confessional's going to need a seam as they wind around to the top of the stretch. Here comes Renegade. Renegade trying to come after Wayne's Law. The Puma looking for room in behind. Then comes Game for it. Confessional's back to the inside, and Oselli, Renegade takes over from Wayne's Law, who's a stubborn foe, but Renegade inching clear late. Renegade and Irad Ortiz Jr. to win the Sam F. Davis. They won it.
I thought visually, set aside the speed figures a little bit. Visually, that win at Tampa looked really good. The Puma comes back and wins Tampa Bay Derby, who was third to Renegade, I think, in the Sam Davis. And the fact that they're sending the Renegade to Arkansas Derby for his next start is kind of ambitious and to me, maybe indicative of how highly they think of him. So that's one I'm watching just I think he's been the most impressive in his comeback race at 3 so far.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned him, because I had him kind of check mark too with the 20 to 1 morning line, and coming off of that Sam Davis, that was very impressive. So again, it's going to be fun. Derby pool
Kicks off Friday afternoon and then ends later in the day on Sunday. And again, if you like those Virginia Derby horses, let that run and then see how the odds shake out on Sunday. But it's always fun to take a little pop. If you have a horse or two where you have some ideas and the odds wind up being kind of attractive, it's fun to get to Derby Day and maybe have a couple of horses already in your back pocket.
Sometimes it pays to go with the flow, to check your worries at the door, to reconnect with your crew, to follow the thrills and the flavor, to roll with it and see where it takes you, to enjoy every minute to its fullest, and to dance like there's no tomorrow. You can do that here at Rivers Casino and Resort Schenectady, where the good times flow.
You like free money? Well, Capital OTB gives its players plenty of opportunities to cash in. At Capital OTB, there are so many ways for horse players to receive bonus dollars by simply participating in promotions such as our bankrolls, bounty bets, online handicapping contests, and much, much more. Plus, with Capital OTB's Player Rewards program, you get actual cash back. So what are you waiting for? Log on today at CapitalOTB.com or CapitalOTBBet.com and claim your free money.
Come on.
I want sales reports on my desk by Monday.
Oops. My bad.
Love racing? RTN brings you every live simulcast on your home television, plus live video streaming and race replays on your PC and mobile devices. To order, visit rtn.tv. RTN, a breed apart.
Welcome back to Derby Deep Dive. Thanks to Patrick Reed. Again, we talked to him yesterday from Jockey Club, America's Best Racing. You can find his work there, and he had that article that you can pull up on the America's Best Racing website. Just came out a couple days ago, kind of looking at the future pool. And it was fun to go over and look at, as I say, we looked at some of the logicals, looked at some horses in the mid-range, and looked at some prices as well. And it's going to be interesting as compared to the morning line. To me, there's some really attractive horses on the morning line in this future pool. And it's going to be interesting to see how those odds shake out by Sunday. Oh, I should also note, if you wondered, why didn't he cordially say goodbye to Patrick? Because normally I do at the end of an interview, and that was a little bit abrupt. It's abrupt because we actually went on to take a closer, specific look at the Virginia Derby, and we'll drop that into tomorrow's Racing Across America. And then I cordially said goodbye to Patrick. But again, we had our conversation on the future pools, and then we separated out. So you get to see a little Virginia Derby conversation tomorrow again on Racing Across America. But again, thanks to Patrick Reed for joining us to take a look at this weekend's Derby future pool and some of the odds worth maybe taking a look at. As always, beginning of the week, the latest NTRA poll came out, and this time of year there are two separate polls, 3-year-old poll and an overall poll. And the 3-year-old poll this week, really nothing major change, nothing at all changed in the top 5. There were a couple of changes, though, in the top 10. Top 5, as I say, stayed the same as last week. Paladin, Commandment, Nearly, Class President, and Silent Tactic. Again, going back to those stakes races over the past couple of weeks, that particularly the Fountain of Youth, which got some, buzz, obviously, coming out of that with Commandment number 2, Chief Wallaby number 8. Chief Wallaby actually moves down one spot this week as the second 5. Renegade was number 6 last week, remains at number 6. Patante, though, with the win out in Southern California, moves from number 24 last week to number 7 this week. That moved Chief Wallaby down one spot to number 8. The Puma comes up from number 36 to number 9, and Further Ado drops from 8 to 10. Also sitting and looking out at the top 15, Iron Honor, number 11, Golden Tempo, number 12, Canaletto, 13, Plutarch, who is actually off the trail, as I understand it, 14, Bella Ballerina, number 15 in there. So, again, and, Bella Ballerina, it's a 3-year-old poll, so there are, some females in there, including down the list a little bit. Zany in the Oaks future pool this week is kind of the clear favorite there. Again, we have the Derby future pool this weekend, and I will remind you once again, if you go to KentuckyDerby.com, there's a drop-down menu on the top. You hover over or click on wager. The drop-down menu opens, and there's a future wager that you can click on. And when you do, all the future wager information is there, press releases and the list of runners and the morning line and whatnot. And you can pull up free PP. So I'll remind you again, if you click on the free PP link and it comes up and you see Oaks and you think, oh, I got the wrong one. Nope. If you scroll down, it's one file for both the future pool for the Oaks and the future pool for the Derby. So just scroll down and you will find the PPs for the Derby as well. So again, free PPs, KentuckyDerby.com for that info. And again, Derby and Oaks future pools both open up today at noontime. Derby pool closes 6 o'clock on Sunday. Oaks pool closes at 6:30 on Sunday. But again, Virginia Derby, Virginia Oaks tomorrow. And if you're looking at any of the horses in those races, and Patrick mentioned Confessional, who is scheduled in there, 90-1. I'm not sure whether that morning line would hold with the Brad Cox runner. Now, off the Sam Davis, yes, but the first two starts of the course showed some promise. So it'll be interesting early in the day tomorrow to see where Confessional is sitting, but we'll take some action. But I would still think it'll be interesting to see if he were to win the Virginia Derby, how much would his odds shift? 90-1 on the morning line. Does he go below my bottom line level of 20-1? I guess it would depend on the type of victory, certainly. But as I say, wait until Sunday if you're looking at a horse sitting headed to the starting gate for the Virginia Derby. Let's see how they do, and then make your decisions on Sunday in that direction. All right, we'll wrap it up for this edition of Derby Deep Dive. Again, it's our weekly look at the steps along the trail to the Kentucky Derby. We're here every Friday morning at 10 a.m. If you don't get to see it, you can catch a replay at our Capital OTB YouTube channel, so keep that in mind as well. Again, thanks to Patrick Reed for joining us this morning, and we'll wrap it up, as I say, today for Derby Deep Dive. But again, we'll have some three-year-old conversation tomorrow on racing across America with the Virginia Derby in the mix. As again, I believe the last 50-point race, Lexington comes up as a minor points race as well. But after this week, we get into the 100-points races where things will start to separate out a little bit. And as I mentioned earlier, as there typically is in the 21st century, there are some horses that are still going to be needing some points to guarantee themselves a spot in the starting gate. So the next few weeks will be interesting as well. All right, Seth Merrow, Derby Deep Dive, our Friday morning look at that Derby trail. Happy you tuned in. We'll wrap it up, but we will see you next Friday morning for more Derby Deep Dive at 10 a.m. See you then. We'd like to thank Gulfstream Park for their sponsorship of this program and some of the other programming and events here at Capital OTB. Gulfstream Park's championship meet features great racing now through Florida Derby weekend at the end of March.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of